Hey, good evening. Welcome back to my little gardening show. Tonight I wanted to actually talk about gardening again. It's this is the perfect time to plan out the garden for this upcoming year. So, got a farmer's almanac. I've got a calendar, though I can't find it. The kids and my wife kind of cleaned up the office area and they moved stuff around, so I can't find my calendar. But I got both these things at the Tractor Supply Company. And a little pro tip on that: if you wait till after the first of the year, like about a week into the new year, their calendars, they've got pretty nice calendars, are 50% off. So I got like the Farmer's Almanac calendar for like $4, and it was, normally, actually it was more than 50% off, I think, because they were normally like $11. So good deal on that. But I got a calendar and the almanac. I like the almanac, not just because it's got a little, all kinds of weird little knowledge nuggets and stuff like that, but it's got your frost dates for the region you're growing in, and it's got the weather, and it's got planting according to the moon if you want to take advantage of the moon cycle. I guess a little blurb on that: when there's a full moon and stuff, the gravitational pull is stronger, and so it draws water up from the water table into the growing area of the zone of the soil where things grow. And so if you sow seeds during that time, you increase your chances of the seeds sprouting or germinating, because the water table's higher, basically, or there's water that's drawn up into that area that normally wouldn't be there because of the gravitational pull of the moon. So anyway, a lot of like folklore over that, a lot of practical wisdom in that. Anyway, I look at the frost-free dates. Ours for our zone is around, as far as killing frost, the danger of that ends at around end of April, like April 22nd or something, and then our first chance of killing frost is around the end of October, the 21st or something like that. That's fairly accurate. I mean, usually in those time frames, that's about right. It could vary a couple weeks depending on the weather patterns and whatnot. Typically, I don't plant any of the warm weather stuff until Mother's Day weekend. And actually, last year I waited till Memorial Day weekend, I think, to put a lot of the tomatoes out. As far as the killing frost, I think we didn't get it till Halloween weekend. It got really cold, and we got a killing frost then, I believe. But having that information is important, so you can establish then when you're going to start your seeds. Or whether you're direct sowing or whatnot, it's going to determine your planting dates and the dates that you start things. Most stuff that as far as your greens and things like that, it's like 4 to 6 weeks in the trays before you would transplant them out. The warm weather stuff's going to be more like 8 to 10 weeks, depending. A lot of that depends on the temperature of your grow room and the conditions in your grow room or the area that you're trying to germinate stuff in. So all that's important. But other than having these tools, you got to answer some basic questions. One, what do you eat? What are you going to eat? Realistically, if you were to grow that, are you going to eat it? So what do you eat? What can you grow? Would be the second question that comes to mind, as far as what's your space limitations, climate, pest pressures, things like that. What typically does well in your area, what doesn't. And the third question is, do you have time? Do you have time? Because you might have the best intentions and get everything rocking out, but you don't have the time to maintain it. It's not going to do any good. The garden's just going to go to weeds. And I've actually had a friend this past year that, helped them start a garden and everything, and, about midway into the summer, drive by and the whole thing's up in weeds, right? Where they didn't have it was kind of their first year experimenting with that, and they just didn't have the time to keep up with it, and they didn't have a good cover mulch to suppress the weeds. And even if they did, they weren't out there enough to take out the weeds as they would be sprouting. They just let everything go. And that's okay, lesson learned, right? But that's a big thing. Do you have time to take care of what you're planning to put out? Are you going to eat what you're planning to put out? At the beginning, I remember growing all kinds of stuff, but then quickly found that the family, about half of what I was growing was not what I would call fan food, right? But like the tomatoes, the lettuce, potatoes, peas, peppers, things like that. That was all good. But when I started getting into like kale and Swiss chard and contemplating Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower, things like that, not so much. You know, as far as turnips, nobody wanted to really eat that stuff. And some of that stuff was kind of hard to grow. Like broccoli is a really difficult crop to grow because it's so sensitive to temperature. So again, these are things you have to you gotta weigh out, you know, when you're planning out a garden. You know, maybe if it's your first year, you should just do like a little salad garden, like just do some cherry tomatoes and some lettuce, something you know you're gonna eat, something that's gonna be relatively easy to grow, rather than, you know, trying to do all kinds of exotic stuff, right? So that's typically what we focus on, is try to do what we're gonna eat. Green beans, potatoes, tomatoes, lettuce. I mean, stuff that's not super difficult to grow. Kind of map that out, and then I don't know. We do that, and once you figure out what you're going to grow, then you can map that out according to your frost dates and stuff, and put stuff on a calendar, like when you're going to start seeds. And that's when you can look at the lunar calendar, like the lunar planning schedule, and within the general dates that you want to start stuff, like, you know, 4 to 6 weeks back from the frost date for the light frost date for your cold weather stuff, you would kind of look at the lunar calendar and see when would be the best day to plant based on the cycles of the moon, you know, increase your germination rates. That's if like you're direct sowing, you know, stuff like that. And then again, with the warm weather stuff, looking and seeing when would be the best day. And again, typically in our area, it's going to be Mother's Day weekend would be, you know, I'd be fairly confident that we're not going to get like a killing frost. So anyway, those are just a few tips, you know, as far as thinking about starting a garden, you know, planning things out. You don't have to go out and get a farmer's almanac. I picked one up because it's got, you know, a lot of other little information and stuff. It's kind of interesting to read. But you can also find your frost dates by just Googling your area, you know, or your local extension office usually has some great information. When we were living in Indiana, Purdue University had an awesome extension office, lots of resources that I still have access to because you can just get on the internet and find that stuff. But most states have pretty good resources like that where you can find the information you need to plan things out. So anyway, hopefully that all helps you guys. We'll kind of go from there, I guess, until next time. Happy gardening.